Cassie here, welcome back to my channel, and today we are here to talk about the 5 love languages and how we can use them to benefit our writing. So for those of you who are unfamiliar with the concept of love languages, this was a concept I believe first introduced by Gary Chapman in his book, whoa, that's a lot of glare. That's not what the book's called. The book is called The 5 Love Languages, How to Express Heartfelt Commitment to Your Mate. And in this book, Gary Chapman expresses that people give and receive love in different ways, and they have different languages of how they do that, and there are 5 of them. So in this video, we are going to discuss those 5 love languages, what they are, and how we can use them to help us in our writing. So let's go ahead and start by identifying these 5 love languages. In no particular order, number 1 is quality time, which means, spending time with your mate and giving them your undivided attention. Love language number 2 is receiving gifts. Giving someone a gift can be a symbol to tell that person that you remembered something about them or that you were thinking about them. Number 3 is acts of service. This can be something like cooking dinner, taking out the trash, doing the dishes, or in general just taking something off of your partner's plate that you know they're kind of stressing out about having to do. Number 4 is physical touch. And with physical touch, a lot of times people think about it as like a sexual thing, like guys are more into physical touch because they like sex more, which personally I think is not always the case anyway. But physical touch is not just a sexual thing. It can even be something that people experience in a friendship kind of relationship. Some people just feel really loved and valued when their friends feel comfortable, giving them a hug or a little back rub or stroking their hair or something like that. And last but not least, number 5 is words of affirmation. And that's not just saying things like, oh, you look nice today, or I love you, although those are good things too. But words of affirmation is more like seeing something in your partner that you really value and making sure to tell them that with words. Like, hey, I really appreciate that you are very loving and kind to your friends and you want to make your friends feel happy and supported. Or maybe you see your partner working really hard at their job. You can tell them that you appreciate that they're a hard worker and that they have a lot of integrity in their work ethic. So those are the 5 love languages. That was just a very brief overview of them. If you're not familiar at all with this whole concept, I would really recommend you read this book or at least look up online more information about the 5 love languages, because it is a really beneficial tool, especially if you're in a relationship like a marriage. It's really useful to know what your partner's love language is. Because let's say that your love language is physical touch. So you're always trying to show your partner love by hugging them or rubbing their feet or rubbing their back or, initiating intimacy physically. That's all well and good, and your partner might enjoy that, but if their love language is words of affirmation, then even though they appreciate your physical touch, that might not be something that they necessarily equate to love. It might be like, oh, that's nice, but I don't really see that as my partner saying that they love me or showing me that they love me. It's just a nice thing that they're doing. Honestly, if you really hardcore identify with 1 out of the 5 of these love languages, I think you could even be in a relationship where your partner is exhibiting all 4 of the other love languages, but you still feel like something is missing or something's a little bit off. And it's because you're not getting the one that really, really speaks to your soul. So it's a really important and beneficial tool, I think, to look into if you are in a relationship or even with your friends. It's good to know your friends' love languages. Like, I have a friend who I know her love language is physical touch. So I love to give her extra hugs and rub her back and rub her hair and stuff like that, because I want her to know that I love and appreciate her. And it's like an easy way that I know that will translate to her. I'm speaking her language. But anyway, you might be asking yourself, how can we use this in our writing? And that's what I'm here to tell you today. Now, given the nature of this subject, obviously a lot of these are going to be related to writing a romance, but there are some things related to friendship that I will get to in a minute, but I'm going to start with talking about the romance aspect. If you are writing a very good, healthy relationship, especially if you're writing a relationship that's established, like at the beginning of the story, this couple has been together for a while and you want the readers to like their relationship and think that they really get each other, love languages can be a great way to show that. If you determine that your main female character's love language is words of affirmation, then you can really show the strength of the couple's relationship by having the man always affirming her with words. And showing characters loving their partners by using their partner's love language is a really good way, I think, to show a healthy relationship, and especially a good way to show your readers that these people have been together for a while, that they've been through enough that they know each other deep down. Because generally, when you first meet someone or you first start dating someone, you know, you do the sweet date-like things, but you don't really know what their love language is and how they really feel loved the most. But if you see maybe a really healthy married couple who's been together for years, you could see that, you know, the husband's always rubbing the wife's feet every night before bed because he knows that that's something that is special to her and makes her feel loved and valued. Or maybe he likes to come home with flowers or some little trinket that he saw on his way home from work and it made him think of her, and he knows that that's something that speaks to her and makes her feel valued and appreciated. So knowing your character's love languages and having your characters know each other's love languages can be a great way to show and not tell that these characters love each other and that they know each other well and that their relationship is established and healthy. However, love languages can also be a great way to showcase conflict in a relationship, especially when you are dealing with a love triangle kind of situation. For example, I'm writing a book right now that deals with a love triangle, and one of the things that I really like to see in love triangles that I think makes them better and not as cliche, because sometimes love triangles are awful to read, but sometimes they're not so bad. And I think one of the things to me that makes love triangles good is when neither choice, you know, if let's say in my situation it's a woman and two men, so neither of the men are like terrible. They're both good men and they both would be good partners to have in life. So it's not like, oh, she's obviously gonna choose this guy because that guy sucks. Like, they're both good. So sometimes it can be hard when both characters are good, viable choices for a partner. It can be hard to show the reader that one of them stands out above the other without making the other one do something bad or wrong, which I think is kind of what makes love triangles often cliche, is when it's like, well, obviously she's gonna choose this guy because this guy's cheating on her, or this guy's never appreciates her, or whatever. But one way that you can do this is by utilizing love languages. So maybe both characters are really good men and both appreciate the woman, but maybe one of them doesn't speak her love language and the other one does. Maybe person A, who doesn't speak her love language, just, you know, it's not that he's not trying to or he doesn't appreciate her. Maybe he does love her very much and he's trying to show her he loves her, but he's doing it by, you know, giving her lots of hugs and kisses and buying her gifts, and maybe she just doesn't really care about those things. Whereas person B over here is naturally a very encouraging person who likes to speak, you know, kind words into other people's lives, and maybe when he comes into the picture, he sees things in her that he appreciates and tells her those things. And maybe person A over here also sees those things, but he doesn't say them because he's not as good at words of affirmation as person B. And if her love language is words of affirmation, then that really adds some conflict for her to feel like, well, person B, I feel more loved by him, even though I know this person loves me, but for some reason something feels off. This can also add some relationship conflict via miscommunication, but in a good way, not miscommunication in a cliche way, because that is getting real old. I've noticed lately that I think we're all pretty tired of the like, oh, like someone did something, or like there's some misunderstanding, and we're all just like, if you just talk to each other for 5 seconds, then everything would be fine, but they just don't for some reason. That's That's miscommunication in a bad way. That is annoying, and nobody likes to see that, because it just makes your characters look stupid and like they don't know how to talk about their feelings. But in this situation with the two men who speak very different love languages, and the woman who has a certain love language that she receives more than others, the thing about that is that she might not even know what it is that's wrong with person A. She might be feeling like, well, I don't really, like, I know he loves me and he does sweet things for me, but I just don't feel it for some reason like I do with this other person. And as a reader, I think we can see that from the outside looking in, but she might not necessarily know that about herself. So it adds some conflict and miscommunication and misunderstanding, but not in a way that makes your main character look stupid or like she just doesn't know anything about herself, because these are complicated emotions and things that not everybody like is self-aware enough to realize about themselves, even though people looking into their lives can see it plain as day. So those are some ways that you can use love languages in your romantic relationships, but you can also use them to beef up your friendships in your writing. Two people having the same love language can be a reason why they get along well and bond together. You know, if two people are friends and both of them have the love language of quality time, then that works out really well, because they both just want to spend lots of time together and they don't even have to be doing anything or talking much. It's just about being there in the same room. I know I've had friends like that, and I've seen people like that where they just want to be together all the time, and it doesn't really matter what they're doing. They just both like spending time together, and they both have that in common. And I'm sure we've all seen people in our lives who are really close friends, and they're both just super touchy people, and they're always hugging each other and sitting on each other and, you know, all over each other all the time, because their love languages are physical touch, and they have that in common, and that's kind of what makes them feel loved from each other, because they're both expressing and receiving the same love language at the same time, and that's a really easy way to instantly connect with someone. On the flip side of this, you can also have this be a conflict in your friendships, or, you know, lack of friendship in your enemy relationships. Maybe they speak different love languages and that's why they don't get along. Or another thing that could be fun to write is a friendship situation where the two characters have different love languages, but they understand each other and they know that they have different love languages. When I say that, I don't mean that they like literally call them love languages and like say, oh, I know that my friend, her love language is words of affirmation, or, you know, I don't think many people talk like that or know these things to that degree, but you know, I have friends that I know, like I talked about my friend earlier, I know that her love language is physical touch. That's a different kind of example, because we actually have talked about love languages specifically. But I know that there are people in my life who need extra encouragement with words. That's how they feel loved and supported. So when I'm with that person, I adapt to that and I give them that, because I know that that's what they need to feel loved from me. And vice versa, you know, people in my life know what I need to feel loved. And so that's also a good way to show a good friendship, especially a friendship between two people who have been friends for a while and really know each other. They're very close friends. You can show that by having them, you know, speak each other's language. So anyway, that is all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and be sure to check out that book by Gary Chapman if you haven't already, because it is very, very interesting. And I hope this has given you some advice on how to use love languages to beef up the relationships in your story. And that's it. I'll see y'all next time, and have a great day. Bye.